U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is under fire this morning after a new report from Bloomberg revealed he had described him as coaching his Russian counterparts on how to pitch a peace plan to President Trump just days ahead of a critical meeting with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Now, you may remember last month the president floated the idea of sending Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine just as he was about to meet with President Zelensky on October 17th. But 3 days prior, Bloomberg reports Witkoff held a phone call with the Kremlin's top foreign policy aide, Yuri Yushakov, to give him some guidance on dealing with Trump. Witkoff's guidance reportedly included suggestions on setting up a Trump-Putin call before Volodymyr Zelensky's White House visit later that week and using the Gaza agreement as a way in. He recommended that Putin congratulate Trump for the Gaza peace deal, say that Russia had supported it and that he respects the president as a man of peace. Quote, "From that, it's going to be a really good call," Witkoff said. Yushakov appeared to take some of the advice on board. Putin, quote, "will congratulate and will say, quote, Mr. Trump is a real peace man," he said. Trump did have that phone call and announced a meeting with Putin in Budapest that was later canceled.
The Bloomberg report sparked some outrage online from both sides of the aisle. Republican Representative Don Bacon wrote on X, "For those who oppose the Russian invasion and want to see Ukraine prevail as a sovereign and democratic country, it's clear that Witkoff fully favors the Russians. He cannot be trusted to lead these negotiations. Would a Russian paid agent do less than he should be fired." Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu was more brief, writing his own post, "Actual traitor. Steve Witkoff is supposed to work for the United States, not Russia." As for Trump, he brushed off the article entirely. Take a listen.
Have you heard this audio that Bloomberg has of Witkoff coaching the Russians on how to appeal to you?
Well, I haven't heard it, no, but that's a standard thing, because he's got to sell this to Ukraine. He's got to sell Ukraine to Russia. That's what a deal maker does. You got to say, look, they want this. You got to convince them with this. That's a very standard form of negotiation. I haven't heard it, but I heard it was standard negotiation. And I would imagine he's saying the same thing to Ukraine, because each party has to give and take.
Now, this was all made worse yesterday by this clip from Tucker Carlson's podcast going viral, where Witkoff was asked what he thought of Vladimir Putin. Take a look.
What did you think of him? I liked him. Yep. I thought he was straight up with me. Of course, by the way, I've said that. I don't regard Putin as a bad guy. That is a complicated situation, that war, and all the ingredients that led up to it. It's never just one person, right?
Now, Witkoff again drew criticism for that exchange. An NYU professor, Ryan Goodman, writing on X, "This should send shivers down the spine of Republican and Democratic members of Congress alike. It's a, quote, perspective not capable of negotiating for true U.S. interests."
Of course, this all comes as Ukraine has reportedly agreed to the core elements of the peace proposal brokered by the Trump administration. There are still some key points, of course, of disagreement. U.S. delegations are set to meet with both sides in the near future in hopes of finalizing a peace plan. I think this is all completely ridiculous. I agree with every word President Trump said. Steve Witkoff, you have to do a little flattery during negotiations. That's how you sell it. He's doing that to Russia. He's doing that. Well, of course, he's not going to. How does it serve American interests for him to badmouth Vladimir Putin on Tucker Carlson's podcast? He shouldn't be doing that. Even I criticized Biden when he called Xi Jinping a dictator while he was trying to meet with the Chinese. We need to have a little bit of finessing of things here. Outright moral condemnation makes everybody feel good. It's not going to get the deal done. So I don't care at all that he did this. This is the biggest non-story I've encountered in some time.
Well, since we reported this week that the Russian 28-point plan that came from them was directly handed out from leadership in Russia and had no involvement, and there's been several different reports about trying to get to the bottom of this, with Mark Rubio saying one thing and other leaders in Congress saying another thing, that they're not understanding who sent this plan over, if it was a negotiation or just straight a Russia wish list, understanding that Russia has been in the position of just doing whatever they want, and also understanding that Russia is is run by a dictator, and we don't tend to applaud dictators. So if you just start with the Tucker Carlson clip, I mean, this is a man who is a war criminal that has killed children recently, that's bombing Ukraine actively as he has this 28-point plan on the desk of our leadership. So it's being blatantly disrespectful. And we're saying, oh, he's a good guy, I kind of like him. Well, what's there to like right now? You don't have to be pleasant. I mean, you can be pleasant without saying you like somebody and flattering them in that way on a podcast. I think we're past the point of liking somebody, because he certainly does not like the U.S. or our leadership, because he's going around every single thing that we're asking him to do in terms of President Trump trying to solve this within his first few months. Even President Trump has voiced his frustration. And when you have Witkoff, who I respect as a businessman, somebody who's excellent in real estate, then leading these type of negotiations, treating it in a way of business, it doesn't make sense, because you need somebody who has respect for the relationship that is the international relationship between Russia and the U.S., between Ukraine and the U.S., between everything that all of our European allies want and what we're trying to do by keeping our European allies happy in this situation and not prioritizing Putin over everyone else. And so when Witkoff is saying, oh, I kind of like him, he's super cool, and then also doing things that are advising him how to get his plan that only serves him and completely doesn't even take into account what Ukraine or European allies may want at all, then I don't think that's working on behalf of the U.S. That's working on behalf of telling your friend Putin how to get his plan jammed through so the president listens.
It's working on behalf of peace, because the alternative to peace is a total Russian victory over the country of Ukraine. And that is the outcome we are trying to avoid. And you want this stark moral condemnation of Vladimir Putin that is not going to...
Is that the only opposite? You have to have this stark moral comment. You can't say... You have to say, I don't like him, or you have to morally condemn him.
Okay,
you
should they be saying, you're saying they
Vladimir
kill
Putin's
children,
not...
they're evil, blah, blah, blah. The U.S. just keeps blowing up boats in the Caribbean without any proper authorization. So we have such greater moral clarity than they do? I mean, Trump said this when Bill O'Reilly asked him about Vladimir Putin years ago, and he said, Putin is a thug and a killer. And Trump said, well, there are a lot of killers, Bill. You think we're so innocent? It was true. We do the same thing. All these countries, all these governments are involved in flagrant violations of people's human rights and civil liberties. And so we can all stand around shrieking about how evil everyone is, or we can try to get something actually accomplished. I think it would be good, not evil, good to accomplish peace in this region with this deal or a deal like it, a deal that, yes, is going to be very favorable to Russia, reflecting Russia's absolute position in this war. There's just no alternative. No one has any idea. We keep coming back to this. Tell me what the plan is to do something other than this peace deal, which is favorable to Russia. And I'm listening, and I'll do it.
Witkoff and the entire, in the U.S. are the only, or the President Trump are the only two people, or his administration, the only body that believes that Putin is serious. So even the French president, Macron, was like, I don't take this seriously, that he's bombing Ukraine actively, recently killing civilians as close as this week.
What does Macron want us to do?
He's telling us, well, they went to them and said they don't want to just cave to every single one of Russia's wishes. That's the first thing, is actually negotiate. Okay. Don't just accept the 28
We're not caving. Russia will say, okay, the war continues then.
No, that's not the only two options. That's what I'm saying. No, it's not. When President Trump threatened to arm Ukraine even more, then you saw Witkoff got on the phone with Putin and told him how to avoid this, because obviously Putin had some concerns about that. Mm-hmm. So therefore, there is some fear in Putin's heart that this continues to go forward. And everybody's aware of that, aside from President Trump. Mm.
Next up on Rising, Trump cracked some political jokes during the White House turkey pardon on Tuesday. Don't go anywhere for that.